Town. This is episode 205. It's the 28th of November, 2017. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Emily. Hopefully you've seen in the beginning all the places you can find me on the internet. And I'm glad you're here joining me today. Alice is about, and she'll probably come up at some point. So today I have, I think, a pretty quick show. And this side of my hair is distracting me a lot. So a pretty quick show. I'm calling it the in-between today because that's where a lot of my projects are. All of my projects are in the in-between. So we'll do whips, we'll do sewing, I have a swap package to share, and I may or may not do a questionnaire that I received on Ravelry. I haven't taken a good look at it, so we'll see if that happens later. So a couple of small things to share. It's November. The sun really does start to fade, the light does start to fade around 3:30, and it's down shortly before 5 o'clock. And it can be challenging to get enough, I guess, to keep your spirits up, to get enough light. I've been lighting a lot of candles, which I don't normally do, but that does seem to add a little bit of something to the day, to the extra long evening and night. And it's sort of a time for being a bit of a recluse, and I've been reading books, and I wanted to share. I usually am reading books, and I've decided to really stop using my Kindle, especially at bedtime. I feel like it's maybe disturbing my sleep. Neither here nor there, but I'm sort of rediscovering books. And one series I've recently started, and I'm on the 4th book, is what's this called? The Chronicles of Prydain, Prydain. And it's by Lloyd Alexander, and they were originally published in the 1960s. The first one is the Book of Three, and then it's the Black Cauldron, I think, is the second. It's a fantasy series loosely based on some Welsh mythology, but just loosely based. So there is a really great female character as well, which is surprising given the time in which it was written. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying those. So if you haven't read them, you might want to take a look. They are traditionally kids' books, but I love reading kids' books. So yeah, that's one little tip. Light some candles, read a real book, and just enjoy the most of the darker time of the year. And November is also Wovember. So this is an organization that celebrates wool, and this year the theme is wool and wellness. And my Fleecewise buddies and I wrote a thing, and we submitted it to Wovember to see if they wanted to publish it, and they did. So it's on the Wovember blog, and it came out on the 22nd of this month. So if you want to take a look, we'd love for you to take a look. It talks about basically how wool has played a role in our friendship and our individual lives, and we really enjoyed writing it together and talking about those themes. So that was with Sarah of Fibertrek, Claire of New Hampshire Knits, and Sarah Pomegranate, which is not her real name, Sarah Bauer of the Yarns at Yahoo podcast. And I forgot to mention, as I was talking about our retreat that we went on a few weeks ago, that I taught, and I use the word taught very loosely, but I showed Sarah Pomegranate how to use a supported spindle, and it was probably the most hands-off teaching experience that I've had, because I just kind of showed her a few things, and she was spindling supported brilliantly. So that was very exciting. All right, so shall we go into the in-between? Let's do that. The first in-between is my Starfall sweater. This is a DK weight sweater, round yoke, designed by Jennifer Steingass. All right, here's where we are. I'm using DuPont Circle DK from Looped Yarn Works. It's a Romney. It's Looped Yarn Works is my LYS in Washington, D.C. It's, I think my favorite local yarn store for sure. And the color work is Blacker Gotland DK. That's nice. So I'm using the colorways Lightning, Fog is this olivey green, and then Thunder is the chocolate brown. And it's not quite, the Gotland colors are truer in the shadow, more so than in the light here. So I just have made a few mistakes here, and one of the major ones was reckoning how much of the contrasting colors I would need, the colorwork colors, as it were. So I assumed since, here's a sleeve, since the colorwork, most of the ribbing is in the Lightning, and a lot of the colorwork is in the Lightning color, that I would need 2 balls of that. No, I need 2 balls of the green. And I'm right here. That's the first ball. So I've ordered a second ball from the Woolly Thistle, and I'm really glad I was able to score that because I know she did a cracking business over the holiday weekend here. So it's on hold. Probably it'll be here in 2 days. I ordered it yesterday. So yeah. Sometimes it's that sort of that eastern corridor. Sometimes it gets here super fast. She always ships it the same day. Once in a while, it just sort of sits in New Hampshire in the main sorting facility. I can track it, so I'm impatient for it to get here. Maybe it'll be here tomorrow. That would be lovely. So I did say there were a couple issues with that. That's the first one. And the second one is me reading a colorwork chart and sticking to it. So you can see down here, and I didn't notice this till much later and decided not to do a thing about it at present. See right there? Right here, this is how it should look. And then I just sort of blithely add some extra stitches into there. So I may go back and duplicate stitch there to make it match the error. And I may duplicate stitch over the errors, but probably not because that's a lot more work. So this is in the in-between. I'm very close to finishing, but sadly cannot do a thing to it right now. The other thing that's in the in-between, and this is like Stranger Things, the upside down, is my Fair Isle vest. So I've had so many amazing suggestions for how to deal with this. And finally here's what I did. I ruminated and ruminated. I read the suggestions, and then I went back to the pattern, and I think, I thought that I had misread the pattern. I don't think I really did. I may have omitted a few decreases around here, but I don't think I did, like, significantly mess up sizing-wise. What it says in the schematic is that you measure the here before you add the bands. And my measurements were correct. I was measuring the entire shoulder with the bands on it, but that, according to the schematic, I read the schematic wrong. And I was spot on size-wise, after all. So it really wasn't my error or the pattern error. I think what it is my body. I think my shoulders are quite narrow, and I don't think they slope. Do you think they slope? Ooh, look, that one slopes. That one slopes a little bit more than this one. That's weird. Huh. I would think this one would slope since I'm right-hand dominant, so I feel like, I don't know, maybe my muscles are more built up on the right side. At any rate, my shoulders are quite narrow, and I just think this was written for broader shoulders. So, because my measurements, according to the schematic, were correct. So what I have done, I haven't cut it yet. This is the original steek and ribbing. So I picked up stitches further in and did another rib and a shorter rib. I didn't do it as much. So it's over, maybe not quite 1.5 inches more narrow. So I need to secure this. I think I'm going to do a sewing machine, secure the steak with a sewing machine, and then cut. I'll probably do 2 lines of sewing and just hope for the best. It's Jamieson and Smith. I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. So, yeah, I have a double armhole. Yeah, so this is in between, although bringing myself to redo the ribbing and then redo the really slog of a Kitchener to do the tubular bind off was not fun, but it's done. So I'm very close to being able to put on a white button down and my Holly Burns skirt and wear this. Let's talk more about white button downs later. Yeah. So I will say, when this is folded under, it's of course bulky and would look silly, but there's a squish factor in a double layer of Jamieson color work that's really like nothing else. So this is, the Brunsfield vest. I know you guys have heard about that. Today I'm wearing my avocado raglan out of my handspun Rambouillet. It's pilling, it's Rambouillet, but it's super great and cozy. It fits very well, and I think I'm going to make a second one out of my brushwork yarn from Blacker. Perhaps that needs to be cast on because I can't knit the Starfall. Oh, hello. Did you finish your breakfast? It's only, 12:30 in the afternoon. Come here. Oh, come here. All right, here she is. Here she is. Star of the show, Alice. Let's see. So, the only other work in progress at the moment, please don't kiss me with your kibble breath. The only other work in progress is a sock. I'm keeping this in my little adorable bento rust dyed from Sarah Pomegranate. And this is an opal. I think I showed you last time I had a cast on, and that was all. There it is. Now this is a Sweet and Juicy opal. That's their, no, sorry, Fresh and Juicy. Colorway, I showed you this last time, didn't I? Color 9367. Yep, knitting those, my usual recipe on US 1.5s, 2.5 millimeters. Okay. Sorry, the school nurse just emailed me. Playground injuries, nothing major. So that is, I guess that's in the in-between, but what would we expect? It's a sock. It's not on hold. I could just keep knitting it. However, this mess right here is in the in-between. This is the Lander Pant by True Bias Designs. That's the pattern maker. And this is just covered in, strings. I have to clean it up. But I've had to take off the waistband. And I don't know why the waistband didn't fit, but it did not. For some reason, I really love these pants. Despite the fact that I had to hand sew buttonholes. Look how terrible they are. My machine, my brother's sewing machine, which is really my mother's that I hijacked. Thanks, Mom. It's not sewing buttonholes anymore. The needle goes down, it starts the buttonhole, and it used to do it brilliantly. It starts the buttonhole and then it just becomes a tangled mess and doesn't advance anywhere. I don't know what to do except for having the machine serviced, which I know I look super pale. The light is very, very, very bright right now. Hang on a sec. I was saying about these pants, yes. So I even made belt loops and I made these gorgeous pockets in the front, which are lined with some Liberty, which is never going to see the light of day, actually, I realized, so it's a bit of a bummer. I used my overlocking foot to sort of do a lot of the seams. It works really well. I don't have a serger, but just for seam finishing, it's a $13 foot and it works quite well. So I don't know why, but put the waistband on here. And it was a fun kind of waistband to build. There were some fun techniques in there. And then I ended the waistband here instead of here, because the fourth buttonhole should be up here. So what happened was I was buttoning these over and then the fly was getting sort of jacked up over here instead of lying very nicely as it should. And it was gaping a wee bit in the back. So I thought, oh, I just need to sort of take all of this apart, and there were about 3 different seams to take out. And then I'll resew it on. I'm sure that I can sort of ease it in. And no, I cannot ease it in. I need to add like 1 3/4 to my waistband. I'm pretty sure I cut the right size. Size 14. So I'm just recutting a waistband. Thankfully, I have enough fabric. And I'm adding that extra, I'm actually having to do a join to get long enough fabric. So I'm joining 2 pieces. So I'm going to allow for a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each of those pieces, plus the 1 3/4 on the end. And then I'll redo the waistband. I've already graded down some of the seam allowances, so I'll just have to sew where I did previously. But, you know, I'm just going for it. I'm not going to worry too much. I might actually take off the belt loops because I don't ever wear a belt. They do look nice, but I think it would be fine without them. Yeah, with the buttonholes and everything else, I'm counting it as a learning experience. And I really do need to sort out my sewing machine buttonhole problem because I want to sew an Archer top from Greenline Studio. So that's the beginning of my sewing and the end of the in-between. Oh no, it's not. There's more in between. My Alabama Chanted skirt. It is halfway done. So this is the swing skirt, I believe. This was panel 1, which I did mostly this summer. Here is panel 2, which Sarah Fibertrack did about half of this, maybe more. And I was inspired by her stitching to just sort of make bigger stitches and go a little faster. And Natalie Channon advises that you sort of take the twist out of the thread before you sew with it. And I'm finding actually that my thread doesn't twist as much if I just leave it alone. She calls it loving the thread. And you're supposed to untwist it with your fingers, sort of take out some of the ply twist and tell it that it's going to make beautiful things. But I've just decided to tell it it's going to make beautiful things. So I'm on the 3rd panel, guys. If I apply myself, I could wear this over the holidays. I should really, since I can't work on my starfall, I should really just do that. I'm over halfway done. Here's my starfall chart. I had to graph it in my own colors, which is very fun. I love doing that with color work. It's just so my brain would really screw up charts if I didn't do this, if the charts aren't in the colors that I'm using. Yeah. Oh, I did have one finished object. Here it is. This is my Sami bracelet. I'm going to try to put it on because it looks much better on. This was a fun little craft we did on our retreat, and it really takes a while to get on one-handed until it's sort of worn in, I think is the idea. I could be sitting here forever trying to get this on, but it's braided tin wire, which I braided myself, and then stitched onto this I don't know if it's reindeer leather or if it's a faux leather, but traditionally I think it's reindeer leather. I do know that the button is reindeer antler, so a found material. The reindeer will shed their antlers. Okay, maybe I'll get this on and I'll show it to you later. So that was a lot of sewing. I did have to sew up the back of it using a baseball stitch, and I'm glad to have this little reminder of our time. Oh, I used Disa of Disa's Craft Work. I used her tutorial to finish it off. Oh my goodness. All right, so that's not going on anytime soon. All right, the last thing I want to show you today is the swap package that I got, and this was the last of the Rhinebeck swaps that I did. And this one came from Phyllis in Sonoma, and I actually was amazed that she was able to get this put together. Oh, and there's something over there that I should get. Phyllis put together an amazing package that I squeezed a whole lot as I pulled things out. She sent hand-dyed Wensleydale blocks. She dyed them all in one pot. Oh, I thought, oh, they smell good, sheepy. Aren't they beautiful? You know, I haven't spun in an age, and I really should put these into an art yarn. That would be super fun, like a lock spinning kind of project. Now she also sent raw fleece, raw Corriedale Merino Cross, grown, sheared, sold in Northern California. You guys. Oh yeah, lovely. Plus, this was just a package of joy. So this is a Merino Corriedale cross that won the first place ribbon at the Mendocino Wool Fest. Yeah, this is washed. Look at that. Okay, you know what? Maybe for my dark days of November, I should light some candles and use this wool that is luminescent. I should process this. Oh, this is what's smelling so good. She sent, was a really lovely part of this package. She sent things that her daughters make. Evoke Cocoa Flame. This is lovely. Sonoma Valley Wine Barrel candle. There it is. Here's the card. Casey Morgan, Evoke Cocoa Flames. Smells amazing. But that's not all. She sent a sweater's quantity of this GGH merino. It's a worsted spun. It's a super round yarn. Very, very gorgeous. It's a chocolate brown. In some lights it looks plum. Love that color. Oh, some other special things. She sent some Carol Sunday yarn. This is gorgeous. This was Merino Angora, humanely sourced fibers. Beautiful, beautiful. And then look at this. Valdani Treasures mercerized long staple cotton variegated thread. This would be great for embroidery. All sorts of applications. I will definitely use that and enjoy the heck out of it. And she also sent some quilting cotton. Now this is from a store, Monica's Quilt and Bead Creations in Palm Desert, California. They coordinate, they make gorgeous little bags, or 1 yard of each. Fabulous. She sent also some tea made by her other daughter, which is in my tea cabinet, and her other daughter is an herbalist. Is she an herbalist? A naturopathic doctor? Anyway, she puts together amazing teas. If I remember, I'll put her name down here. It was a delicious herbal tea blend. So much fun to do swaps. Love doing them. Really good times. Thank you, Phyllis. Here it is, Sonoma Roots. Delicious by Dr. D. There you go. All right, so I have enough wool to keep me happy for a wee while. I wanted to end today, because it seems like it's a bit of a short podcast today, with the survey I received on Ravelry. I received it from Carol, who does the A Stitch in Time podcast on YouTube. And she was tagged by Jenny of the Lucky Jenny Knits podcast. So this is a way of sort of podcasters helping to promote, I believe, their podcasts. And so I'm supposed to tag 5 other podcasters. I'm not sure I'll do that, but I figured I could participate, at least at this level, and answer some of these questions, because I've been podcasting a while. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 years in January, but a few years. And it might be a nice thing to sort of go back over some of these questions that I'm sure I've answered in the past however many years. But there are a bunch of new viewers lately, and hello and welcome. So it might be a nice time to do this. So let's see. This is called #KnitLifeSurvey. And all right, so what sparked your interest in knitting? Oh my gosh, there are 25 questions. I don't know if I'll get to them all. I might skip a few, but that's all right. What sparked my interest in knitting was crocheting, quite honestly, and Ravelry. And I started crocheting when I was pregnant with my son, and I remembered having been taught by my great-grandmother and grandmother. I really think it was probably both. I can't remember for sure who it was, so I'm going with both. My great-grandmother died when I was around 9 or 10. I think it was 9. And she lived with us for a few years, and I was really lucky to have that. So when I was pregnant with my son, I took it back up because I wanted to make him a hat and a blanket. And so I took crochet lessons, and then I was really craving adult company when he was about 6 months old, and found myself in a knitting crocheting group and was watching what they were knitting and crocheting, but mostly knitting. And it took me about a year to start knitting after that. So I think after I joined that group, my son was about a year when I started to knit. And this was 2008, I think, the fall of 2008. So Ravelry was brand new. And so it was a mixture of watching what my friends were knitting, and what was on Ravelry was a revelation, and realizing that I wanted to make things to wear that weren't like armor and could stand up by themselves, which that's what a crochet fabric in general will give you, especially if you don't use a lace or fingering weight yarn. Yeah, so that's what sparked my interest in knitting. And I think I just answered question 2, how and when did you learn to knit? What is my favorite cast-on method? Oh, gosh. Longtail, German twisted. I always want to say twisted German, which is very different from German twisted. Cable cast on, provisional cast on, over the knitting needle using a crochet hook. That's fun. So I don't have a real, I like them all. My favorite type of knitting design element: brioche, lace, cables, color work. Cables and lace, but not brioche. My favorite project ever that I have knit: my Lovage sweater, probably. Usually it's the latest thing I've knit, but I think my Lovage sweater takes the cake. How many projects are in my Ravelry queue? I don't know. I don't really use my Ravelry queue as a list of what I'm going to use next, or what I'm going to make next. But I can tell you. Let's see. I use my queue. Let me see how many projects are in here. There are 11 pages. I use it for a wish list. Oh, 321 items. But I use my favorites more, and I use it as my favorite projects, I favorite patterns, and I use my pattern favorites as a search. That's where I search usually for a pattern, a new pattern I might want to make. And I have 3,972 favorites. I don't do bundles, but I do use my Ravelry queue for the wish list purpose. You can add a pattern to your queue and check a box to put it on your wish list, and people can gift you patterns from there. Let's see. Here it is. My favorite weight of yarn to work with. I don't know. What was my first knitting project? Ooh, oh, I know. Other than a swatch, it was a cabled neck warmer. And I believe it's in my projects. It was out of purple Malabrigo that I bought in Connecticut. I remember it very well. I was so proud of that. It had buttonholes too. What is the longest time you've had a half-finished project in hibernation? What is it, and when did you cast it on? Do you still want to finish it? I think I have a mitered square blanket out of worsted weight yarn. Let's see if that's I can say how long that's been going. I'm never gonna finish that. Nope. Here it is, worsted scrap blanket. I started it in 2013. January 2013, so almost 5 years. Does anyone want it? If you look on my projects, Chain of Fools on Ravelry, it's called Worsted Scrap Blanket. I'd be happy to send it to you. You want to pay me shipping? It's yours. This is a useful little survey. I don't know who's going to want that, but anyway. Let's see. Number 10, what's the largest project you have ever knit? I think it was my Babette blanket. I crocheted it out of Noro Kurion. And that's a great project. What is the worst and just overall bad, didn't work out thing you've ever knit? Explain what went wrong. Oh my gosh. Well, this colorwork vest really had the potential for that. Oh, I think I remember. It was a sweater I knit out of an interweave knits pattern, and it was out of purple Debbie Bliss tweed, and again, it was the shoulders. They just hung off of me. I wonder if it's in my... Is it in here? Tweed vines. It was an UGG. It's one of the few things I've actually taken the time to mark as an UGG. It was the Climbing Vines pullover. Yeah, that thing did not fit well. I'm sure there have been many other projects. You all have been witness to my other fails and learning experiences, but that's one that stands out in my head as a sweater that I just had to scrap. And there have been a few sweaters that I've scrapped. What is my favorite kind of project to make? Sock, sweater, shawls. Yes, 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 I like them all. I don't have a favorite type. The old, let's see. All right, what's favorite type of fiber to work with? I really only want to knit with wool. I don't really want to knit with silk blends or cashmere blends or yak or camelid blends. I want to knit with wool. Are you a self-proclaimed yarn snob? Sure. Maybe not in the traditional sense, in that I don't really want to work with luxury fibers, but I think good real wool that hasn't been treated with plastic or chemicals is a luxury fiber. So yes, and I sort of see myself as materialistic in a different sense. At least I'm trying to become materialistic, which you may think is a strange goal, but I think at its root, it has a different meaning now, but at its root, to be materialistic is to care about the materials you use or that you consume. So that's how I think of myself when it comes to yarn. My dream knitting retreat or fiber festival to attend. Well, I think I just had my dream knitting retreat, quite frankly. low demands, not too many people. I find that large retreats sap my energy rather than add to it. I'm neither an introvert nor an extrovert. I need people, I need alone time, but the retreat I just had with just a few friends, good food, really not having to be at a class or anywhere at all, was just ideal. And it was a plus that we could have wood fires and wear woolens. So, Fiber Festival, what would I like to attend? I've been lucky enough to attend a few, including Rhinebeck a few times. I would really love to go to Edinburgh. I don't know if I'd really love the festival itself because it seems really crowded and I'm not a fan of indoor festivals, but that would be fun. I'll go to any festival, really. The oldest yarn in my stash, oh goodness, I don't really know. I'm looking at my stash, which I haven't updated in years. I have some old Miss Babs Yowza in a solid color that I should just really destash, although one has been wound for a couple of years. When did I add this? 2011. That's pretty old. I'm sure there's older. Yeah, I've been getting rid of a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've got a few things from 2011. Just looking through. I've really weeded out my stash quite a bit. So probably from 2011 is my oldest stash. I couldn't say what it is other than the Miss Babs. Am I a gifty knitter or a selfish knitter? I'm a selfish knitter, and I'm the most appreciative of my knits, so I don't call it selfish. I do knit gifts, but not very often anymore. I've sort of, at this point, been knitting long enough to know who is knit-worthy and who isn't. And I love everyone the same, but you may or may not be knit-worthy and be a loved one of mine. What do you like to do or watch or listen to while you knit? Podcasts, Netflix, other shows. Do I prefer wood or metal needles? I prefer metal needles, in particular ChiaoGoo and Knit Pro Zings, although I've been knitting everything lately on Luca needles, and I really like them a lot. So they're nicely treated. I really like them. I even knit the color work on them. So mostly metal, but these days I like the Luca. Is there a project or pattern that you have knit more than one time? Yes. What have I made more than one time? I know that I've made several Milo vests for kids. I've made several Cattywampus hats. I have 467 projects in my Ravelry. I've made a couple of Boosta beanies. What else? I've made several pairs of my reflecting light mittens, and I love those. Made a couple of flax sweaters. Looking through I've made a couple of sockhead hats. Yeah, there's more. I've made lots of fingerless mitts, just sort of to my own pattern. I've made 2 Enchanted Mesa sweaters. I've made a couple of my Esther Bell shawls. I wouldn't say I'm a huge reknitter of patterns, though. I really don't. I'd rather move on to the next exciting and shiny thing. I've knit 2 pairs of monkey socks. And oh goodness, all of a sudden my mouse batteries are low. I've knit a couple of my Bleather socks. Yeah. I'm sure there are other things, but probably sockhead hats and Milo vests are my highest repeat knits. Do I have any other hobbies? Weaving, spinning, sewing, reading. Favorite snack, favorite color. I like it. I like them all. I like every snack. I like every color. Do I have pets? Yes, I do. And I want more. Coffee or tea? Coffee. But I like tea too. All right, so if I think of it, I will tag other podcasters. If I forget, that's all right too. Next time you see me, I hope to be out of the in-between and in the realm of the FO. I hope you all are enjoying the dark days and that, what does Dumbledore say? Darkness can be found happiness can be found in even the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Take care.